Attorney Ida Height, and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Greater Birmingham. I'm going to tell you a bit about the League of Women Voters of Greater Birmingham before we get started, and Barbara comes forward. I always call Barbara Karen. I didn't want to make that mistake today, so I just looked at it. But so, before Barbara comes forward, she's leading this particular project, and she's our Director of Education. The League of Women Voters of Greater Birmingham, contrary to what some people think, we are a nonpartisan political organization. We encourage informed and active participation in government, but we are nonpartisan. We influence public policy through education and advocacy, which is why we have Barbara as our education director this term, and hence the type of education that we're providing today for the community. We never support, nor do we oppose any political party or candidate, okay? So that being said, our website is lwvgb.org, and if you're interested in joining us, you just have to be 16 years old or older, and you can join our organization. We actually conduct voter registration drives. We build citizen participation in the democracy process. We engage communities in promoting positive solutions to public policy issues through, as I mentioned before, education and advocacy. We conduct certain types of candidate forums, as long as it's nonpartisan, and we conduct it in a way that's fair and impartial, which is why many times organizations will seek us for guidance on how to do that, or even utilize us to conduct those type of organizations. We believe in respect for individuals. We believe in the value of diversity. And we believe in the empowerment of the grassroots organization. We believe in educating our young people as much as possible and trying to get them involved in the League of Women Voters of Greater Birmingham. If you are interested in joining, please go online and search us and consider joining online. We started, just before I sit down, I do want to let you know that we're celebrating something very, very pivotal this year in 2020, because we started in 1920, and we will be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2020. So there's going to be a lot of information that you'll probably see in the news or even on TV throughout the state of Alabama, not just here in Birmingham, about the women's suffrage movement, and there'll be activities you'll have an opportunity to come to participate in, or even volunteer for should you join the organization. Now I'm going to sit down and have Barbara come forward, and we get started with this bit of education and advocacy.
Okay. Yeah. Membership would make a wonderful and surprising Christmas gift, so you can think about that while you're here. Well, good afternoon and welcome. As Ida said, my name is Barbara Lewis, and I've been a member of the League of Women Voters for about 3 years. And recently, it's been my pleasure to work on this meeting concerning apprenticeship programs in Greater Birmingham. Although apprenticeships might not seem to be directly related to voting, they do relate directly to one other issue that League members care about and work toward, and that is economic justice. And of course, indirectly, they do relate to voting, because the more citizens are gainfully employed, the more they will engage in the foundation of our democracy, which is voting. Before I introduce our panel today, I'd like to thank Lawson State Community College for providing this auditorium and the conference room next door should we need it for our meeting, and particularly Dean Sledge, who I've had many interactions with. Dean Sledge is Dean of the Career and Technical Programs here at Lawson State. So I think you're a pretty good schmoozer, I've noticed, so if you'll just sort of stand up. So that's Dean Sledge. And I'd like to also thank the librarians and other staff members who graciously returned emails, showed me the facilities, and answered my questions. Having a background in education, I always sort of take the temperature of any campus I'm on, and I would say this one is warm, very warm, because the students are smiling and friendly, and as I said, the staff has been so gracious. There are a few people here I'd like to recognize. In a minute, I'll get to our panel members. Chris, you guys can just raise your hand. Chris Bale is with 91 local
91
pipe fitters. Okay. Heath Simmons and Joey Humphrey representing the Boilermakers Local 108. Matthew Dudley and Heather Reed representing the electrical workers. Are they here? They haven't gotten here yet. Okay. Stephanie Dove, and Lee Smith, operating engineers. I know they're here, local 312. And Rachel Key and Chris Ming, Painters Union, local 37? 57, sorry, I couldn't read my own handwriting. Melissa Agresta is a league member, and she was gonna be here, but her husband just recently got a fender bender, so she only had one car. And she has done extensive research in the insurance agency, into apprenticeships in the insurance business. And she said if anybody was interested, had a family member who might be knowing more about paid apprenticeships in insurance, she'd be happy for me to give out her email and her phone number, and she would talk to them. For the discussion today, we're going to go in two directions, or paths, an individual might take to begin a career as an apprentice. One is through an apprenticeship program at a community college, which includes skills-based training and college coursework. The other is through industry-related apprenticeships that have been certified by the U.S. Department of Labor. I'll introduce the three panelists briefly, and they can tell us more about themselves as they enter into the discussion. Natalie English has been with the Alabama Community College system in Montgomery for slightly more than 2 years. Previously, she was at Northwest Florida State College, where she was professor, division director, and assistant dean. She is now Director of College and Technical Education for our state community college system. She and her husband share, you will not believe this, 10 children and 23 grandchildren. So all I can think about is Christmas.
Or Thanksgiving.
Or any holiday.
They don't make enough turkeys for all this, no. Make turkeys, grow turkeys.
Also on the panel are two speakers representing the Central Alabama building trades. And I mentioned the other people here for the building trade, just in case as the discussion started, we might want to know more. They might want to pitch it and tell us about what they do in their particular union as well. Jacob Epperson is president of the Central Alabama Building Trades and business manager for the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 312. Craig Francis is the apprenticeship coordinator for the Heat and Frost Insulators, Local 78. In late spring this year, Craig wrote a letter to our league that mentioned the fact that there were open apprenticeship positions in the building trades. He asked for our help in bringing this fact to the attention of women. So here we are today, all because of that letter, hoping that this message will reach both women and men who might find the perfect fit for themselves in an apprenticeship. So now I'm just going to turn it over to them to tell us about, since you all have expertise in your own particular area, if you could just start by telling us what apprenticeships are available and what are they like at the community college level, and then we'll move, of course, to the building trades. And also, what are the benefits of an apprenticeship? Since I've become very, I don't know, I can't think of the word passionate about the idea of apprenticeships. I've been trying to think of one for my granddaughter because I think it would be a perfect fit. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing your discussion. And I have several questions that we can go on, and also if there are questions coming from the audience, that would be great as well.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Obviously, apprenticeships are an opportunity for students to learn while they earn. One of the main benefits to the student, obviously, is the fact that they are paid while they're also enhancing their educational foundation. And to the employer, you often find that some people think, well, if I train you, you'll go someplace else. But most people gain a sense of loyalty, particularly when that job has changed their lives. And we know that in a lot of instances, individuals are not earning living wages. It's one thing to have a job, but when you look at the news and you hear of people that are working 2 and 3 part-time, and in some cases full-time jobs, and unable to take care of their families because of the low wages, you really get to see the benefit to apprenticeships for our students. They're given an opportunity to learn a trade, and I often have jokingly said, but I'm not joking, why would you think that being a plumber is less than being a professor? Because when they come to your house, before you let them in the door, they show you $100 bill. And I don't mean green, I mean on paper. And if you're unable to do that before they come in, they're not going to even talk to you. Professors, I've been one for, I hate to admit, almost 40 years in one way or another. And I don't think that I've ever been able to walk up to anybody in my classroom and tell them before I answer your question, you owe me $100. So the student is able to learn a trade in some cases that really alters their lives. And when you do that for somebody, you often don't have to worry about them leaving you to go someplace else. Because as human beings, we do have a streak of loyalty in us. Another thing I'll add, and I certainly don't want to take up all the time, and I'm sure you've already discerned that I don't mind talking. I gave each of you this book, and even though this isn't a pamphlet, even though this isn't coming from the Alabama Community College system, we are certainly an integral part of the new Alabama Office of Apprenticeship. Everything you want to know about apprenticeships, the different kinds of apprenticeships, please take a look through this. It's a very easy read, but basically this office was opened. It's an arm of the Department of Commerce. It was opened recently and basically will take the place of what we do in the state of Alabama for apprenticeships of the Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Labor. I noticed, oftentimes you have frequently asked questions or something like that, and in here, one of the questions dealt with, if I allow a student or students to come into my organization as apprentices, will I have the U.S. Department of Labor breathing down my back? And the response was no, not in Alabama. The Alabama Office of Apprenticeship will be your conduit. So I'm sure that that's one of the reasons it was formed. I don't remember who I was speaking with this morning about that. I don't know why that's a big deal, but apparently they thought it was, or it wouldn't be in here. So good information there, but please take a look at that. Another thing I have, and I'll pass these out before I leave, I just love Lawson State, and I'm biased. They're one of our 24 great institutions, but Dean Sledge was gracious enough. He recently had surgery, so there's an extended amount of graciousness in his willingness to put this together for us. But it shows you the apprenticeship opportunities that Lawson is already offering their students. So that's good. 22 of our community colleges, and I'll tell you why the other two don't fit into what I'm going to say, have work-based learning opportunities in every technical program that they offer. Now, apprenticeships obviously are only one type of work-based learning opportunity, but we make sure, and it's almost inherent in a career and technical education program, that our students have an opportunity to put their hands on things as they learn. Because obviously, if you're learning how to do something, you need to be able to practice doing it before we let you loose. So this is a great brochure, and like I said, I'll make sure that you have that before you leave. Before I turn it over to my good friends that I've just met, do any of you have any questions that you can think of that are directly related to the community college system? And I just remembered I forgot to tell you one thing. Go ahead. Any questions? Blah, blah,
I
blah.
have one.
Sure.
Well, if you're in an apprenticeship program, does that automatically lead to a 2-year degree?
Not automatically, but in an ideal sense, a company becomes a sponsor of apprentices. They hire them just as they would for any program, but they're doing it in association with the community college. They hire them, they have an agreement with that college where the students go to work a certain number of hours a week and they learn a certain number of hours a week. As they progress through that apprenticeship, again, in an ideal sense, their wages are going to increase. Because the more you know and the more skilled you become, the more you should earn. If a student stays in the program and it was set up to lead to an associate's degree, the answer to that is yes. Sometimes it may be set up to lead to a credential, because we also know that now we're in a time in our country where middle skill jobs far outnumber those that require higher levels of education. So in some cases, it's a credential that you need more than a degree. So it really depends on how that apprenticeship is set up. But typically, and you'll see that in reading this, it can go from 1 to 5 years, again, depending on what the ultimate goals are. And if the student stays in the program, they will earn the degree and or credential that program was set out to let them earn.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the student is being paid while they're in the
Absolutely, you
and
earn
the-
while you learn.
And the Department of Commerce is paying them.
No, the employer is
Okay.
paying them. The Department of Commerce is one thing they do is work with the Department of Financial Services to ensure that businesses get tax credits. Okay, so they're really like the conduit to make sure that all the information that each entity needs is provided to them. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
This is a delicate question, but
That's okay.
I was wondering, if somebody did need to, depend on the wage, what's an ideal, would it be like, they would be earning minimum wage?
It's really hard to say that. It depends on the agreement, and depending on the field, they may start at higher than minimum wage. I think the minimum wage now is $7 and something, $7.25. And in a lot of cases, you hear of students starting in apprenticeship programs at $10 and $13 an hour. It really depends on the industry. Now, these gentlemen can let you know what they are doing, but no, the minimum wage is not necessarily the case. And then it continues to go up, as I said, depending on the length of the apprenticeship and, again, the original agreement with the progressive wage put in it. Yes, ma'am.
So does the employer get an opportunity to, as they're training, they're also grading and
Yes.
doing those counselings and various things, feedback?
Yes.
Written feedback, that is.
Yes, because again, when the apprenticeship starts, the student knows how many days they're going to go to work that week or every week and how many days they're going to go to school. They are a legitimate student earning college credit. They are a legitimate employee earning money. It's just that the employer and the school have an agreement as to what's being taught, at what rate it's being taught, so that the employer can make sure that their student is as well-rounded as they can be for their purposes, i.e. them being a long-term employee, and the school gets the benefit of working with the student to ensure that they're successful when they complete the program.
So is there any type of evaluation required? For example, with an employee that has an annual evaluation, like a quarterly evaluation, how is the student graded?
They're a regular student. They are no different. If I register for PLM 201, a plumbing course, I'm in that course if I'm an apprentice, just like I'm in that course if I'm not an apprentice. I'm being graded. The employer knows what I'm doing. It really, I hate to say this, but it's true. In some cases, it's better than a student just going to school and being graded.
Because they're getting OJT.
Yes.
Okay.
And
got
the
it.
employer knows exactly how they're progressing. The employer benefits from having had the opportunity to put the agreement together with the school. So in some ways, they're letting us know what needs to be taught so that ultimately they can be served specifically when that student is completing their education. As opposed to us teaching them in general, and like a lot of us were taught, and then we go to work, and then we're taught what that organization wants. This student that is the apprentice is being taught the way the employer wants them to be taught as they go along. And to be a little more specific and perhaps to clarify this, we have apprenticeship opportunities with a program called FAME, and that's a manufacturing type apprenticeship opportunity. The students are hired. They are in a cohort. They're not taking classes willy-nilly. They take the same classes together. They go to work together. So I think what may have been being missed in what I was saying is that it is a very defined process. It's not like I go to school and I take the classes that I want to take and then I go to work. It is planned out from the beginning in an agreement. Does that clarify that a little bit for you? Anybody else? I mentioned to you that 22 of our 24 schools, one of our schools, Ingram State Technical College, serves individuals who are justice involved, meaning they're incarcerated. So obviously they're not participating in apprenticeships. And our other community college is a military academy. And that's the reason that their students aren't in apprenticeships.
So where is it located?
Marion.
Okay, that one.
Okay,
ask this of you and Dean Sledge as well. Do you find that students in an apprenticeship are retained, perhaps more so than the general?
In their jobs?
Retained in the programs and in the job?
Yes, absolutely. Again, it's planned, and you know, I kind of try to think back to when I was in college, and of course that was 100 years ago, and I'm being facetious. So we were a little more, we were different. We'll just leave it at that. But you know, in a lot of cases now, students do work. I was a more traditional college student, so I went to school full-time and I did not work. But it's not uncommon now even for full-time students to be working because of economic need. And therefore, instead of taking, say, 15 to 18 hours a semester, they may only be taking 6 to 9 hours a semester because they have so many other obligations. So it's real easy when you're not all the way in to fall out. With an apprenticeship, though, again, it's an agreement that's derived from the beginning. There's a plan in place for that student to be able to see the end. So you are more likely to stay involved, we find. We've eliminated some of the obstacles. You have a job that's built into your school. So you don't have to put school on the sideline in order to make a little money.
So, I'm sorry, I'm a workers' comp attorney, so
That's okay.
when they are hired by these employers, is there some way where the employee, does the school, I'm gonna say Lawson in this one, does the school require that the job also has workers' comp, has all kinds of insurance for liability so that the school won't have it?
Yes, the employer is responsible for all employer-related issues. The school is there to educate. The benefit the employer has in working with the school, again, is they have some say in what's being taught. And that gives them a more well-rounded employee. Now, Dean Sledge, do you want to add to that? Her question was basically, the schools are being held harmless, am I right?
Right, my question is the student protected should they have an accident on that job at that company?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, just like any other employee.
They are an employee.
Okay.
That again, I'll just say again that these students go and interview. They are hired like real employees, but they are hired for the apprenticeship opportunity. It's not like they just went somewhere and found a job, and then they went to the school and hoped that the two connected. They're doing all this in a collaborative way. But when they go to that employer, they are an employee, just like I'm an employee of the Alabama Community College system. And then when they come to the school is no more or no less responsible for them from a school perspective than they are of any student walking on campus. Is that good? Okay.
Yes. And the other thing,
Did I answer you fully?
a lot of times, when we have these different partnerships, not only apprenticeship, we have, and all of you know what a MOU is, a memorandum of agreement. And in that covers all those things. So if someone get injured or this happened, they disappear or whatever. So we have to do those MOUs also. It's a good thing to have.
Okay. Any other questions for me so that I don't haul out the time? Okay, feel free though. I'm happy to be here and answer anything I can.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that I have other meetings and things I have to go to, but I'm so happy that you came out today, and I hope that everything is set up and everything what you need is in place. And it's exciting to see you, and I love working with the two-year college campus. And I saw somebody that I think I know that walked in here that I hadn't seen in a little while. Maybe my classmate from high school. Okay, so if you need anything, just see, the administrative assistant or the librarian here, and they can help you with that. And you all have my cell number if you have to call me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank y'all for coming to Lawson State.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Thank you. Good seeing you.
Okay. Any other questions for me right now? Okay. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. I guess we'll move on to
Good
me.
friend.
I'd like to, my name is Jacob Epperson. I'm the Central Alabama Building Trades President. And on behalf of the Building Trades, I'd like to thank you, Barbara, and the League of Women, and also Lawson State for the opportunity to get here and speak on our apprenticeship today. I don't want to take too much away from some of our individual crafts that's come, but I'd like to second some of the things you said, Natalie. Apprenticeships are great, and they have very good opportunities for people that do participate in them. Ours do operate a little different than the way yours does, and I'm gonna let some of our craft here explain the way their individual
Agreements have been set up?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
But really, that's all I'm gonna say. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm gonna pass it on over to Craig. And then when questions and stuff get brought up, we'll call our other craft up here and let them answer a lot of the questions per their individual programs.
Hi, how y'all doing? My name is Craig Francis. I'm the apprenticeship coordinator for the Heat and Frost Insulators Local 78 here in Birmingham. Just a little history. Our international was founded in 1903, and our local union got its charter in 1926. And December 1970s when our apprenticeship was recognized by the Department of Labor. And we've been going strong ever since then. Just talking about, some of y'all was asking about curriculum and things like that. Our apprentices do have hands-on every class day they come 16 hours a month or 2 Saturdays a month to class, and they also have a minimum of 12 online courses that we develop that they have to go through. So at the end of each year, they have a hands-on course that they have to pass to move up, and they also have at least 4 of the curriculum that they've been assigned they had to pass in order to move up with that also. So, they have to do a little bit basically homework and testing and then the hands-on stuff. And then they also have like everyone else here, the on-the-job training. That can go from anywhere from 2,200 to 2,400 hours a year. So they get paid really well. They start off at a little over $17 an hour now. And I think ours may be one of the low ones. I'm not sure, but
I think most of the programs start off at a percentage of full scale. So whatever a journeyman operator makes, if a first year apprentice is coming in, each individual apprenticeship has a set percentage that they're gonna start that individual out at. And it's right now, everybody's around $17, $18 an hour,
Right.
starting right out of the gate.
See that $100 bill I was talking about?
But, and that creates a pretty good incentive for a lot of them that's come from minimum wage jobs. They basically have doubled their income the first hour they work. So, that gets people's attention. I know it did mine when I started.
Right.
First time I worked overtime, that's it, I'm hooked. I'm never doing anything else. And here I am. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so I've been doing it 28 years now, including the 7 years as a apprenticeship coordinator. And along with the pay, they have retirement benefits. As an apprentice, they start off at a certain amount, and again, as they move up through the apprenticeship and advance, their pay rate goes up, their pension rate goes up. They have Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance once they qualify for it and continue working. And with ours, if they work a lot, they can bank a year's worth of insurance. If something happened, they could be off a year and still have full coverage insurance, health insurance.
So what kind of jobs are those with your apprenticeship program?
We do installation on mechanical systems such as air conditioning systems, boiler systems, things like that. Any commercial or industrial building has some type of mechanical system in it. Like this building here has a heat and air system in it. It's got air duct that has to be insulated, plumbing, piping, steam lines. All these things have to be insulated for energy conservation.
And do you announce job openings for the apprentice program, or is it ever closed at one particular time because you don't need any, or how does that
We
work?
take applications year round, but when I contacted the Women's League, is the same time of year we normally do a mass application process. So we usually take applications for an entire month right before we do interviews. And there's certain, we do the interviews once a year, but there's certain direct entry programs we have. We have a program that most of the building trades are involved in called Helmets to Hard Hats. So any veterans that just come out of service.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
We also got a program that we just started this year. It's the Apprenticeship Readiness Program, Aarp. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of that, but it's funded by the Central Alabama Building Trades and North American Building Trades, NAB2. And what it is basically, I guess, a pre-apprenticeship. If we have kids that's coming out of high school and say they go to a said craft and they're not taking in individuals right now, or the work is not available or full, but they still want some kind of opportunity, we have a coordinator that's putting on class, and I think Lawson State's just recently held a class with that, and it's a 12-week class, and it basically, if someone comes in and they say, I'm interested in being an insulator,
Right.
well, then that coordinator is going to critique to that to lead him towards that craft. Operator, painters, boilermakers,
Right.
pipe fitters, anything like that. He kind of leads them in that direction, and they really concentrate on upping their math skills a little more.
Right.
Giving them with us our union history on if they're going to a union and things like that. So when they do get accepted into a apprenticeship program, they kind of got a leg up
Right.
on someone that's just coming to fill out an application and they haven't been through that program. And
So how do you advertise for this? You contacted the League of Women Voters of Greater Birmingham, but what are your other mechanisms? I'm thinking like, do you sometimes, do you go to churches where they can try to get people?
we do job fairs.
Okay.
Any of the job fairs that come up, we try to hit them and stuff like that. We participate in the one down there at the Civic Center. What is that one, Lee? The
Night
second-
program, part of that.
yeah, we're part of the night. We do a lot of work with Helping Hands Birmingham and United Way.
Okay.
But
There's, we also do, ads in Birmingham News and, social media. And, there's plenty, probably most of the coordinators in here probably send out 100 letters to different organizations during that time period. They do that too.
And
So-
where are you physically located?
Here in Birmingham.
Okay.
But if y'all would mind, I'd like to introduce some of the craft that we've had here today, so y'all can ask them. We got Heath Simmons with the Boilermakers. We got Chris Bell with the pipe fitters. What's your first name again? Chris Mean with the painters, and Lee Smith with the operators. And if they come up here, y'all can ask them any questions. So y'all come on up.
I am so excited. Again, you're talking about changing somebody's life. These guys are heavy hitters.
Come on up to Stephanie,
These
y'all come
guys
up.
and girls.
Rachel.
There's some ladies in here too.
I know Stephanie, she's with the operator. She works for us right now. She was actually one of our apprentices and was going through the program, and we brought her into the office. So,
It's just beautiful.
Like Jacob was saying a while ago, they have a big job fair every year at the Civic Center. And it was amazing. The kids, I'm talking about like 6,500 kids go through this job fair in 2 days. They come from all over the state of Alabama. And you have everybody there from the University of Alabama to Caterpillar, BMW, or Mercedes. We don't have a BMW dealer yet, but it's just amazing to see all those kids and how it's set up to introduce these guys to what we do for a living, I talked with the principal at Bessemer City High School last year, and she said that out of 1,000 kids that are gonna graduate, she's got 300 that's gonna go to college. You got 700 kids that's gonna have a job.
That's right.
So this is kind of where we come into play at for,
What
for
is
the
that, that Civic Center event that you just named, what is it called?
The Ignite program is part of that with the city of Birmingham, but I can't remember exactly what that is with the city of Birmingham when they do that at the Civic Center, but I'll get some more information and get the email to you. Something like that. This goes on nationally. This is not just in Alabama. This
Right.
thing goes on, every state has
Right.
this,
Because WOW is the world of work, and they have these types of things, and again, I don't know if that's what this is, but they have skill and trade type events throughout the United States so that children can see what work opportunities are available to them. I think that sometimes as grown-ups in the United States, we don't do the best job in preparing our children to go to work when we know that that's what we intend for them to do. So organizations that put on the WOW events really are serving the community because they are letting children know what's available. You know, like welding, for instance. You think hot, you have the mask, I don't even know what to call it, on, and you're doing like this. But there's weld in this cell phone. You know, and so when children know what's available to them, they can change their sight on what they might want to be. And again, not to be ugly sounding, but the people in this room that make the most money probably are standing behind me.
Yeah, they won't come to your house and get anything.
Okay, look. That might be crude, but let's just tell it like it is.
You know, Lee made a good point on the graduation and how many's going to college and who's left around, and college definitely isn't for everybody. It wasn't for me. And I know when we go to these job fairs and go to these high schools and speak like that, that's a big thing we hit on is that, you know, college isn't for everybody. And like I said, it wasn't for me, you know. And I've done great ever since I was 18 years old. You know, hadn't missed the day of work.
That's
And,
right. That's right.
I've had insurance. I've got a pension of retirement that I'm looking forward to being able to use one day, and then just a skill of a craft that I learned that I can always fall back on.
Right.
And that being said, too, we also have members that do have college degrees that have not being able to use a degree and still coming back and doing that type of work.
I think Lynette has a question.
Yes.
Go back to the veterans, and I assume you're doing a lot of coordination with the VA and VA outpatient. What accommodations are even possible for the veteran who comes back who is disabled in some way? Can apprenticeships ever accommodate those kinds of individuals?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I know ours is just about, every veteran that applies goes to the top of the list. And as long as the owner, where they work at, they meet the requirements coming in the gate, they're good.
So you could potentially be hired if you had lost a leg or.
Yeah, we work with people that have
Absolutely.
have a prosthetic leg, there's people out there now working.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, you made it out to rural, look, I'm in the, St. Clair, which is, you know, contiguous to Jefferson, but y'all make it out to the outlying communities?
Speaking for the operators, you know, I'm business manager operators. We've got about as rural can get. We went to Fayetteville High School, which is a little 2A school out in the middle of nowhere, and actually did a job fair. So we're actually got another one lined up in Talladega County around Sylacauga, and then we've also was a part of the new program that they're coming out where, you know how they give a graduate that's got a scholarship like a sports,
Right.
and they give a big signing day and everything for them.
Let me comment on this.
Okay.
This kid came from Fayetteville High School down there, and it was signing day for this kid, because this is what he wanted to do, you know? And Jacob went down and he had the kid a hat, and they had the newspaper down there, and it was a big deal, you know what I mean, for this kid.
They do that with the
This-
FAME program that I was
this,
speaking about earlier. They have these huge signing days and the students are sitting there like they do for the college football scholarship. It's just phenomenal. And again, it shows someone what they can do, even if they really don't consider themselves academics.
Right.
You know, and oftentimes someone that wants to be an engineer, for instance, but may not be able to afford, for whatever reason, to go to a four-year university right then. If you have done something in industrial maintenance, you will be better in the classroom after you've had an opportunity to work in the field and understand what's really going on. So,
Do you have an acute need in one of the trades? Is there more need in one than the others?
I would probably say welding.
Yeah, welding's a big one.
Yeah.
Welding's a big one, yeah.
Do you know why? I mean, it's.
You just, well, I don't know about, I can say the fitters, cause you can't, they always want welders. You can't ever have enough welders.
everything has a weld. Well, everything, but you guys know more about that than I do. But, you know, I mean, everything. When you see those little beads of metal, no matter how little they are, it's a weld. So all these devices that we use, I bet some of the things in our kitchen have welds, like pots and, you know, fancy
A lot of the,
cookware.
and also if I may add, a lot of
Please.
the
Keep me
wells
out of
that
this
we're,
hole.
that we're within the building trades are highly critical wells.
Yes.
That there is a difference, it is highly skilled, you know, we have a lot of people that come in and they could weld the muffler on their lawnmower and it hold, and that's great, but you know, for what we require, it's highly, highly specialized skills to where it's in the nuclear power plants and things like that. That have to be 100% X-ray consistently, and it takes time to learn those things, so that there is a shortage, definitely.
And when he's talking about skill, when they go and take a weld test, not only are they having to pass the test of the apprenticeship program, but they're also having to pass Alabama Power's test and whatever contractor's test they're putting. So they're getting tested 2 to 3 times before they're actually allowed to go out on the job to weld. So,
I have a question which,
That's good.
I guess I'll admit, I suspect I know the answer, but, I come from a background and am still on a volunteer basis tutoring persons who are working toward a GED. Some of them are really struggling. And so I'm asking, are there settings in which you are aware or know where persons not yet at the GED, not yet having a high school diploma or a GED may be able to fit in?
I would say, you have to have a high school education or a GED diploma or a GED to apply for ours. But I would say if that person is working towards that, the Aarp program,
Here's the route to go.
they can go ahead, you know, that's a 12-week program, and it does got some academic stuff in there as far as your math skills and everything. And within that 12-week program, he can help that individual try to achieve his GED also.
Do we have information back here on the AARP?
The ARP,
AARP.
AARP is us. Don't get too personal.
no, man, not on that. I can get some.
Okay, yeah, access to that
Okay.
information.
If you go, nab2.com,
I'm sorry?
nab2, NABTU.com, or is it .org?
That's it, it's .org.
.org, excuse me.
Okay.
They probably have some ARP stuff on there. That's the National Building Trades website.
I know there was, yes, ma'am.
For the 2 women in your group, could I ask what their biggest challenges were in becoming integrated into their respective programs?
Mine would probably be just proving to the men that we're just as equal as they are.
And let me tell you what I've heard from employers. No shade on my good friends here that I've been bragging on all morning, these guys. But they say in some cases, women are they're better candidates for some of the really fine work because we pay closer attention to detail in some cases. Not in these cases, of course, but in some cases.
It is true, definitely.
I would just, along that lines, as far as the painters are concerned, which Rachel's not been through the apprenticeship program, she's my administrative assistant that's come to be with me, but, you know, the thing about us being in the, registered apprenticeship program is that we are under the Department of Labor, so we don't discriminate, based on, gender or anything, race, anything. We are, so we're
Bound by that.
we're bound by that, but we also, most of us, I would think, would say that there's more of an initiative or more push to include more women in our trades because it's traditionally a male-dominated area. Our particular, with the painters, ours is a 3-year program. And we do work with the Wider Opportunities for Women in Atlanta. Our district council office is in Atlanta, so we do work with a lot of women's group. Our specific apprenticeship program, when you come out of our apprenticeship program, we have an agreement with Mount West Community College in Huntington, West Virginia. And so our apprentices, based on their on-the-job training, the classes that they take, all they need to take is 3 courses and they'll have their associate's program. A computer course, a communications course, and English course.
Wow.
And they'll have a 2-year degree program. I participated in that as an apprentice, and I got my 2-year degree. And I'm currently they also have a 4-year degree through the Southern University of New York. And so I'm getting ready to embark on that, and the union will pay for that. And so it's been, if I can say anything about apprenticeship or unions, it's opportunity.
So what's the name of your program?
I'm with the Painters Union, the IUPAT. So if you look up IUPAT.org, it'll tell you more information about our union. And my office is in Fairfield.
I wanted to introduce, she's not standing up here, but I brought an apprentice with me. Just Miss Tremisha Smith. I brought Tremisha with me because she's heading to be our Apprentice of the Year.
All right. Wow. Congratulations. Now that really gives a round of applause.
And what that means is she's done everything as required of her. She's excelled past everyone else that was in her class.
Good.
That and becoming Apprentice of the Year, not only is it a nice little trophy you get, but we give a monetary award also.
All right.
And from that point, they go to a conference competition. So you know, all our unions that are in our conference send someone to this competition, and if she wins it, she gets another reward or award, and then she goes to our international competition. So yeah, so it can really add up. Plus, it's a really enjoyable experience for them. Get to go to a new city, you know, things like that. Expenses paid, you know. So, but she's done gone way beyond what she needed to do.
How long has it taken you to get to this point?
Didn't take very long at all. Like, when I first started, I was told to go to the classes, attend union meetings, and you get passed, go to extracurricular. So it didn't take long at all.
Now, 2 years or what?
Probably like 3 or 4.
About 3 or 4.
We have a 4-year program, but she's gonna finish in about 3.5 years. And doing all the extra stuff.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yes.
How about career centers? Are they aware of what's going on?
Yes, same thing. Most all of us in notices career centers.
And I've held, I'm sure along with them, I've held job fairs and hiring events at the career centers. Posted jobs, things like that on their database.
One thing as well, as far as the training, you know, we're not directly affiliated with any particular college or anything like that. We supply our own training. You know, it's an apprenticeship, kind of like a little different than what the college is, but the same. But we supply our own training. All of them are going to be relatively the same, but just a little bit different and varied. But for instance, we do training at our school that's maintained. Our international, we're 350 locals across the United States. There's 5 in Alabama. We got over 350,000 members. We've got currently, I think, our Birmingham local. We've been here in Birmingham since 1899. Local 91 has. So we're not new to this, and the apprenticeship program started shortly thereafter. But yeah, it's a 5-year training program. And one thing that is, if you come through the local and anybody, and we say kids a lot, but a lot of these are displaced workers. We see a lot more middle-aged people coming in, had a change of career, but come to us, don't have any kind of benefits. But the benefits differ than some other places. Say if you're at a plant working, the contractor pays all those. So it's a fringe benefit on top of what you make. So like Jacob was saying, somebody might start out at $18 an hour, but we have another $13 to $15 package on top of that per hour that's paid on that individual's behalf. So it doesn't come out of your pocket. You know, insurance full for our local, and like I said, everyone's going to vary just a little bit, but we have 3 separate retirement plans. And we also have the health, eye, and dental insurance, all paid for by the contractor. You know, so you're actually carrying home, when we say $18 an hour, those guys are getting home with $18 an hour. And that benefit, for instance, myself, I've been in local almost 25 years. And one time I just took off too long because I wanted to, not to go back to work, but I paid one insurance bill in that amount of time, and I have 3 children, and that's critical, and so it's been a big blessing for us. But also with our schooling, they go 2 nights a week for 5 years with us, but the cost of them, they'll wind up with certifications that can carry them anywhere in this country, out of the country, but the cost of them is 0. So, you know, there is opportunities there. So if they're not already enrolled in a college, they can come to us and apply. And if they're accepted, again, at the end, they might have to buy a book maybe throughout the year, but they get all these certifications, all this training that's paid for by each individual member that's out there working. We're on the job working. A small amount comes out of each one of our checks to fund this. So it goes back into our own training program. So these people get a 5-year education for free.
Everything's self-funded.
And at the end of that, you know, I just wrote down a little statistic. Working 40 hours at an average of $20 an hour, an apprentice, by the end of their apprenticeship program, would have made about $193,000. Rather than coming out with any college debt, which we're not against college, I'm all for it, all the education. But I'm just saying, as a statistic, they'll come out on the other side of that apprenticeship program with $193,000 in their pocket and no debt.
And please, as you have time, take a look, like you mentioned, the fact that you provide your own training. If you take a look on page 8, there's a discussion about that in this book, that an employer at their discretion can do that. They have their training programs, they know exactly what they want. Obviously, as you know, I represent the community college system, and in some cases, they may work with us to provide the general education, and then they'll provide the technical training themselves. But please take a look so that you can pass the word we want to make sure the governor has an initiative that we have 500,000 people credentialed by 2025. And the only way we can do that is be foot soldiers. We need to let adults and our youth that are graduating from high school know what the opportunities are so that they really can make a living wage, because as Mrs. Lewis pointed out, you have a more solid citizen if you have somebody that's not worried about how they're going to eat tonight. It's real hard to worry about voting if you don't know if you're gonna eat dinner. Okay?
Yeah.
I have a little bit of something else too. You know, once you graduate the apprenticeship program, most of us have a category, you know, of workman called a journeyman. That's not the end of it. You know, you can advance further than that. You know, you can be a supervisor, general foreman. You know, you can go into, like most of us did on the union side, into the union office as instructor, coordinator, business manager. You can go on and do other things on top of that. You know, you can be an estimator. There's all these other doors that open, and most of our classes you can earn actually through the Department of Labor. When they give you that certificate, you get a certain number of college credits. So you can go on further with other stuff, construction management, things like that. We've had guys that take that and apply it toward their construction management degree, and they, you know, just keep going. So it opens even more doors once you complete the apprenticeship.
Absolutely.
Well, how can each of us here help spread the word? For example, I work with a food share program once a week, and we have wonderful clients who come to us for help with their food needs. So they have children that are getting ready to be adults. So how can we spread the word? Just tell them about.
I'm pretty sure everybody in here by now, International has their own website set up.
Yep.
Like you just punch in, what is a Boilermaker? And eventually, if you scroll down far enough, you'll have a page that shows you exactly what we do, how to get in contact with one of your local, and I'm pretty sure every union has that now, because they're trying, I know our International is trying every effort they can on every social platform they can get it out there to let them know, because I know we're in an effort trying to get more people in, but I guess forever, we was the best kept secret in the world.
Right.
Because if you wasn't kin to somebody, you just didn't get in. I mean, my dad's a Boilermaker. Most people up here is probably kin to Boilermaker, or kin to their affiliate. You know? They're kin to somebody that, but we realized we kept it so close knit that we're running out of people. The ones we relied on for everybody's retiring. So we need them. We need more people. But I would say Google was your best option.
Yeah.
Get in contact with somebody and
Yes,
figure all
ma'am.
this out.
You can Google with the Alabama Building Trades.
Mhm.
They have a website and that has every craft available
And the contact information.
and the contact information.
And then again, that
Alabama
office,
Building Trades.
and that Office of Apprenticeship, it's Alabama, but not the word, just AL, apprentice.org. And I'm sure that they are working with your organizations to make sure that your information is on their site. Again, in Alabama, they will be the apprenticeship arm, but that's not to replace the Department of Labor by any stretch. It's just to make it easier because we have to increase our labor force.
Okay. This is a question for everybody about the kind of student you're getting right out of high school, or their work ethic, their math skills, their literacy to read instructions. Have you seen any differences, good or bad, in the last 10 years?
I'm gonna tell you the biggest problem we had. They wasn't raised like I was. But showing up,
Yes.
There you go.
100%.
because, and it sounds crazy, but now 40-hour week,
Even for
probably getting our normal work
$18
week.
an hour.
Yeah, 40-hour week in our normal work week. Most times it's six and 7 days a week. Now it sounds like a lot, but you're gonna work an outage and then you're gonna have a off time to go to the next one. But we have more people getting run off through our organization for just not showing up. They make the most money ever made in their life,
Right.
and so they don't want to go to work every day.
They don't have to work.
And just showing up gets more people run off than anything that we have.
So it's
on.
not drugs, it's not,
Well, we have that too.
Well, see, that's the first thing you gotta pass the drug test to get with us. So by the time you make it past that part, it's just showing up.
Right.
can I come and apply to be an apprentice if I have a felony on my record and I'm above board about it?
Yes.
Yes, but there, it may, there may be sites that you may not be able to get into, but we all have places where people, we have members that have felonies, yes.
Well, that's good to know.
You may have
Actually,
to use
most,
your site to
you'll be
make that
surprised how
up.
many that actually do have felonies.
They're construction
You're looking
workers.
Yeah, they are construction workers. They have rough lives.
We had a meeting, a National American Building Trades meeting, and we had two of the largest contractors that contribute with the union contractors, is D&Z and Bechtel. And two of their people was up there speaking on the negatives and positives of the last year, and the biggest negative was attendance. They said if you add all the hours, which is just a 10% attendance of them not showing up on each one of their jobs, they left $50 million on the table.
Wow. That's
Showing up late,
amazing.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or just not at
Not
all.
showing up at all.
At all.
A lot of job sites, showing up late or leaving early is considered as the same thing as not being there yet.
They get all their numbers, you know, that, and these are contractors that would bill, say, Alabama Power. Well, when that man don't show up, they can't turn that in because he didn't show up. So out of that 10%, between those two, is $50 million that they was not able to turn in.
And something that also has happened that goes along those same lines, in the past it's gotten better, but now if we do get students directed from a school system or somewhere, if they are having somebody that's in school and having trouble academically, then they'll say, well, maybe you need to go to the trades. Well, that's not what we need either. You know, because we are highly skilled. That's the reason we are able to get those wages at these amounts. It's not just, you know, just because we deserve it. We do pride ourselves in being highly skilled. And so we need highly qualified people to come in. Math is a big portion of what each one of us do every day. You don't think it is, but whether it's figuring calculations on a load before it can be lifted, or the weight of something, or the amount of pressure on something before we can put it up in operation to work safely. So we do need highly, you know, we don't try to keep anybody. If somebody does have a few limitations with the schooling, we'll try to train them and get them up to par. But honestly, we really don't have time to do that. 5 years seems like a long time, or however long the training programs are for us, 5 years. And a lot of them, when we say, look, you're gonna have to go to school, especially right out of school, that you've got to go to school 5 years, it's like, oh no. But it flies by, and you really don't have enough time to get all the training in 5 years.
Right.
It's just, there's so much to do. So we need the highly skilled, and that's one thing that we get. You know, I think altogether, it's gotten away from, you know, we have so many people that apply that can't read a tape measure.
Yeah.
You know, things that just used to in the past, it was just a common thing that you learned. They might do an algebra equation, but they can't read a tape measure. And so not only that affects them at home and their everyday lives, but when they come to us, you know, it's really a negative thing.
So that brings the question to my mind, is there a pretest?
Well, for some
Yeah.
trades there
Yeah, we
is,
do.
for some trades there is. yes.
It's like an evaluation
Yeah,
more than
yeah,
a
exactly.
test.
It's
It's just an evaluation to see where
For
they are, where
aptitude, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
kinda like when
You
you
know
get ready to
that.
go into, the Army does, you know, it's.
An
it's-
ASVAB.
So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to see.
It's like
We have an
Placement
aptitude
test.
test and,
Something like that.
we don't grade it. We have a third party, so when you come in and fill out our applications and everything, we get them all together and then we send them off and a third party test those. And then kind of from their scores, that's how we pull off from the top of the stack on giving them the opportunity to come.
And bear in mind that, again, Alabama, via the governor's office, has this initiative to enhance our workforce. The Department of Commerce has a grant that is WIOA, which is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and there are funds there to give people things that they wouldn't normally have access to. For instance, someone mentioned a student who perhaps hasn't completed their GED. There's training that can be paid for through WIOA if the student qualifies, and oftentimes they do, so that they can get those skill levels up. As I mentioned before, us with general ed and sometimes them doing their own trade training, there's no way that they drive up to your driveway with that $100 bill if they can't decipher, as Jeff Robodin used to say. So they have to be able to do things, but they don't necessarily have to have a master's degree.
No, that's what we try to give them.
Right. Okay?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure everybody's got a motto, we're gonna do your job right the first time. And well, if you're not qualified, you can't do it.
just
Well, we
can't.
thought it was that, let me try again something. You don't wanna hear that at your house, and the owners don't wanna hear it either.
Right.
Well, and also in our jobs, you know, in school, we're taught that it say even a 60% percentile, it's passed. Well, on the job, we can't make 60 percentile of our work successful, or it's gotta be 99%, we'd be out of business. So 99 to 100%, we have to be successful on every measurement that we take, every calculation we make, every move we make, so yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like
because
to
I
ask
had.
about, I'm sorry, excuse me, language skills, not, in terms of English versus other language, first language, other language. How much of an issue is that when persons come, I'm thinking with high school diploma or GED, I'm not thinking without that, but, it's a population group that I happen to work with some, as do some of my colleagues and church members, and I'm just interested, does that?
You know, they can't comprehend or speak English at all, or just think their first language.
No, speak English, but maybe not the most standard English, maybe
fluent.
not, do you evaluate it as people try to come into, apprenticeship programs, or?
No.
With us, we don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, if they can speak a little bit of English, we can work with them.
Yeah.
It might take a little bit longer,
Yeah.
you know, saying the same thing 2 or 3 times until we figure out what each other's saying, but, it hadn't been an issue with us so far.
One of the main things, you know, we work on, with the building trades, we work at construction sites, power plants, things like, all the safety signs and
Yes.
stuff is in English. So they have to be able, to some degree, to be able to read those signs. Some contractors, you know, it's a safety issue for them, so. But as long as, like he said, if they can comprehend some, usually we can work with them.
Why do you say it's a safety?
Thank you.
Because they can't read there's certain places in the plant you can't go. There's certain hazards you need to be aware of working in certain areas. So if they can't read English, it's a safety issue.
Just say you got an overhead
I see what
hazard
you're saying.
ahead,
Yeah.
they can't read the overhead hazard sign.
Or high radiation area.
Yeah.
So math is very important, and I think I just read that math that in Alabama is, our scores are not right, in the schools.
Well, he's not talking about calculus, no, we're talking about this, you'd be surprised.
Basically.
I was surprised when I
General
first started
computation.
teaching apprenticeship classes, how awful the math was on adding, subtraction, fractions.
Go back to your elementary math.
And this is just, just the fractions they don't take much. We didn't go, I was surprised the amount of people just could not add, subtract fractions. I said, hey man, this ain't hard, but you're gonna have to do this. Because you can't, if you can read tape measure, you're gonna need this when you get a measurement. But that's what he's talking about. I'm guessing that's the math you're talking about. That's the basic math you're talking about. Just, if you can get past this hurdle, we can use you, but you got to get past this hurdle, we can use you.
And that seems to be the trouble, even the more more complicated math. The trigonometry is a big part of what we do, and angles and miters for pipe and things like that. But if we can relate that, and I've learned, I was an instructor for 14 years myself, and so I've been able to see that if you can relate it, show them what they're doing, not just give them an equation, and that most of the time, 90% of them can do that. Yeah, it's not like being in a classroom setting. Myself, I didn't excel like that. You know, I could hear and it didn't make a lot of sense, but when I seen it and been able to put my hands on it, then I was able to relate that and do that better. And that's been my experience in that. Yes.
Well, you all have seen how open Natalie is, so I'm wondering, is there any linkages that maybe you wanted to have more so with the community colleges, or anything you need and vice versa? I mean, is there anything that could be done, any more connections that could be made?
There's always connections that
Absolutely.
need to be made.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
And we work directly with the Alabama Office of Apprenticeship, the Department of Commerce with AIDT and ATN, which are technical networks and organizations that train incumbent workers primarily, aside or beside the community college system. So like I said, I know that Josh Langley, who's the director of this, has reached out to your organizations and will. We certainly have a lot to offer each other because we have the same goal. Our goal is to enhance the economic development of this state. And if we don't have everybody working and everybody able to feed their children, then we have a problem. And so we have a direct interest in working together so that we can help enhance the workforce. That's what it really boils down to.
Do you have referral lists for homeowners about who needs help with certain, because this is a serious question, because more and more craftspeople, seems to, some of us, only take jobs that are of a certain economic strata. And so if you have a small project, you can't get anybody to do it for you.
Tell me about it.
They made so much money.
This ain't on, well, we
That's different.
with our, everybody's saying contractor has the bid to work. The contractor asks us, hey, I need 5 operators, the kind of operators need this many installers, this many boilers to get the job done. Most contractors, union contractors, have been beat down over small work to where they won't bid it because they can't make money. That's the honest about that. Now, that's one of the laws you see jobs you get, they're big. A lot of them are huge because that's the only way they can make money. For the union members we got that won't go to work for whatever reason because they make too much money, that'll hurt you on a small job when it's 8 men and 2 of them don't show up.
Right.
So that's why they shy away from the smaller jobs because they're scared of losing money.
But part of that's the workforce
It is.
dependability issue, because you don't know
It
if
is.
your whole crew is gonna
Right.
show up.
Right, and part of it is just the market, you know,
Yeah,
you just
it's
can't
hard
be,
to
they
compete.
can't be competitive in the smaller market. You've got people out there that do it for pennies on the dollar, you know.
Another issue is, if you're talking about residential, I don't think any of our crafts do residential.
Right.
You know, it's,
Painters don't do
No,
residential.
we're primarily industrial, because again, the commercial and the residential market, you just can't compete. You got too many, you know.
Mom and pop.
They're
Yes,
taking out.
Yes,
yes, so we're primarily industrial, power plants, nuclear plants.
And there's plenty of work to be had in that realm.
There is.
I can't get mine.
It makes it real easy for these contractors, and like you said, we stay in these power plants, these refineries and stuff like that. When a contractor goes there and gets that work, he wants the ease of not having to go through applications of trying to get the right guy to come in there that can do the job, or woman. He can just call a hiring hall and say, hey, Jacob, I need a crane operator running AAA, 999, 2250. I need him here in the morning at 6:30 a.m. He needs to be certified in this, and that. And then we get him there. That's all the phone call he has to make. Yeah, and we're able to fill those jobs up for those said contractors like that, you know. So that's why we stay in the big construction
So you deal
industry.
with contractors.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we have signatory contractors.
Yeah.
Okay, we could send something to our state representatives and senators that would help you. What would that message be?
Don't be
Struck a nerve
anti-union.
there.
That's it.
That's a good,
Yeah.
that's the best one.
Yeah.
Give us the opportunity
Yeah.
to prove ourselves. We just like the opportunity, even if it's just a piece of the pie, to show the kind of work we can do. I know unions have had a bad rap in the past, and, you know, we've all moved. There's a new generation that's come in that's running unions now, and we would like the opportunity to get past the past to show this new that ain't how it is anymore, and that we're easy to work with, and that we do good work.
We can do that.
Yes.
And we would appreciate that.
And y'all can too, perhaps, make it more known of the things that unions have brought to the
Yes.
general public.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
Amazing. People have forgotten, I think, just the general public.
What you're talking about, not being able to get the smaller work, one of the reasons is because of those wage packages and those benefits that we're talking about. If you got a contractor out here that's hired somebody off the street that they don't have any insurance, no retirement, and all that, it's hard for us to compete to get those jobs at the packages that we have, and so it makes it tough because some folks are out here, you know, kind of undermining what you're trying to do and keep the package in a living wage.
We would like the opportunity to train everybody that comes through the door. We would want everybody to be a union member. That way that they're out there making the best wage that they can make for the skill that they're able to give, instead of just.
And feeding money into the economy.
Exactly.
You know, the more you make, the more you spend.
You look at,
Or at least you have it.
when my apprentices show up, you look at the parking lot out there, and there's $70,000 and $80,000 pickup trucks out there.
Right.
18, 19-year-old kids out there driving. This there, you know what I mean?
Now, that ought to speak to a lot of them.
Oh, child.
We wish everybody could afford that. I mean, we would want them all, that way they're not out there working for this minimum wage, providing their work. They're out here working for $17, you know, and it's like they're just, being okay, like, well, he's willing to hire me and this is what I got from me right now. And if we could get our contractors and the opportunity for our contractors to get more of that type work, then we would be able to bring in more
Exactly.
of those people and give them the opportunity, because we can only have so many members of what our work provides. You know, we don't want to be overflowing and have a union member sitting over here twiddling his thumbs when we don't have enough work to provide him, when he could be over here working for $10 an hour, but you know, he's over here trying to make 17, but our contractors and, you know, stuff's not providing us that.
Another thing in the past, we got ones that come before us, you know, got a bad rap, right? You know, and one thing we try to train, especially those of us that use materials on the job, you know, the company we send you to work for has to make money. If you don't make them money, they go out of business and you don't have a job. You know, so we train them, don't waste material. You know, that's a huge thing. You know, that's just one little simple thing that they learn in the first year as an apprentice. You don't waste material. You know, if you're doing that, the company you're working for is losing money. If they're having to buy more material for a certain job, they're going to lose money. Eventually, they're not going to want to use us. You know, that's just one little thing right there that we do to try to make ourselves more competitive also.
And each of our colleges offers a program called Ready to Work. And basically, they are trained in roughly 75 hours how to do exactly what these guys and girls are saying they need to be able to do. Come to work. Don't waste people's money by leaving a screwdriver over there and going somewhere else and picking up a set of pliers. That, you know, you leave enough of those screwdrivers over there and there goes your health insurance. It doesn't work exactly like that, but that's what it boils down to, is economics. You know, they're able to provide these benefits because you're not wasting their money. So we do have Ready to Work at all of the community colleges, and like I said, it's roughly a 75-hour program. Another thing I wanted to say, and again, we represent foot soldiers for this effort of increasing the efficacy of our workforce. Small organizations that may not be able as individuals to offer Blue Cross Blue Shield or to offer a certain amount of hours in an apprenticeship, they can join forces with other small businesses that are in their same industry and create a consortia. And then they are able as a group to do something like this that they may not be able to do individually.
Well, you all, it's just been wonderful. We've gotten so much information. I've become more passionate about apprenticeships than ever. I hope we we can help to get the word out by posting this
Thank you
on
very much.
social
Thank you.
media.
Thank you.
Not a question. I'm sure you're dismissing everybody.
Okay, go ahead.
I know many of you are on your way to meetings and work and so on, but a reminder, though I'm trusting that all of us are registered voters, number one, if you have friends or family who need restoration of voting rights, please pick up that information, and don't forget that changes of location and changes of name, that is, changes residential and, need to be changed. Doesn't have to be done on paper, can be done on, online, but keep yourselves registered up to date. Thank you very much.
Oh, and please pick up more water and cookies so I don't have to take it home. Thank you.